remember back in the day when Flash ruled the internet? Subscription services weren't eating off our souls for around 15 bucks a month, and social media was a crack pipe dream that nobody could ever think of. Well, back in those days, at least for the Gen Zers, we were in school fighting over the last juice box at lunch. We were also praying for a time at the jungle gym at recess, while also trying to avoid that really weird kid who would try and smash butterflies with his bare hands. But when we weren't outside during recess and we were trapped in the computer lab with the really slow Dell computers, we definitely were not trying to do the work. What we were actually doing is playing games on a wonderful site called Y8.com, while trying to avoid our teacher's glaring eyes. I swear those days in the computer lab turned me into an Alt F4 master, bro. Y8.com was like a secret hideout, the go-to escape during boring computer lab sessions, and the after-school reward we all look forward to. No logins, no downloads, just a keyboard, a mouse, and unlimited mayhem. And it was all free. Y8 started in 2006, and while other sites like Miniclip and Cool Math are doing their own thing, Y8 carved out its niche by offering an insane variety of Flash games. I'm talking shooters, puzzle games, fighting games, dress-up games, you name it, they got it. It almost seemed like they had every single Flash game on the internet at that time. It was the perfect site for kids who had internet but just couldn't afford the expensive consoles at the time, like the 360 or the Nintendo Wii. All you had to do was open up the website and click on whatever game you wanted. It was that simple. It was literally like being a kid in a candy store, but unlike a real one, your parents couldn't tell you no. On Y8, you could play classics like Fireboy and Water Girl. For this amazing two-player game, you either solved puzzles in perfect sync, or you completely ended friendships. No in between. But when it worked, when you both hit those levers at the same time, or stood across platforms like a choreographed ballet, it felt like magic. Like the two of you were actually mentally linked. Forget co-op like Overcooked or It Takes Two. This was the original duo test. If your friendship survived Fireboy and Water Girl, it could survive anything. And there were also other games like Papa's Pizzeria, Raft Wars, Whack Your Ex, and that weird bartender game where you had to make the right drink. And that is my personal favorite, Plasma Burst 1 and 2. This game was kind of like a side-scrolling Halo. It was a 2D shooter that actually had some depth. You weren't just spamming the fire button, you had to actually think, peek behind cover, time your shots, toss a grenade, and pray the ragdoll physics sent your enemies flying. It definitely wasn't a run and gun kind of game though. Enemies would more often than not completely fry you before you could even shoot back. This game actually made you think about how you would approach it, and the game had a great selection of weapons too, ranging from simple things like pistols all the way up to higher power plasma weapons. There was also lore for this game, but most kids, including me, just skipped over it. Fun fact though, there is actually an official website for Plasma Burst 2, offering a full port from Flash to HTML5, offering new features like better multiplayer. It was crazy reliving some of my childhood, but in an FPS higher than 20. Now, all of these sites and games used to run a program called Flash, which we've all heard of, but a lot of us don't know what it really actually is. But to put it simply, Flash, or Adobe Flash, originally was developed by a company named FutureWave and later acquired by Macromedia, then Adobe. It was a multimedia software platform that allowed developers to create animations, interactive websites, and most importantly for us, browser games. It used a programming language called ActionScript, which made it easier to build interactive experiences right in your browser. Flash content ran through something called the Flash Player, a browser plugin that millions of users had to install to enjoy Flash games and Flash websites. In the simplest of terms, Flash let creators animate characters, build game logic, and design user interfaces all in one tool without needing to know about a bunch of complex coding languages. It helped spark web creativity, especially in the early 2000s, and became the backbone for sites like Y8, Newgrounds, Movie Star Planet, and most, if not all, the flashier sites back then. But it wasn't perfect. Flash was infamous for its security vulnerabilities, and it was resource heavy, and it didn't play well with mobile devices. It all came to a terrible culmination when in April 2010, Steve Jobs dropped his iconic thoughts on Flash letter. He publicly laid out why Apple would never allow Flash on their iPhones or iPads, and he would cite things like crashes, battery drain, and the rise of open source standards standards like HTML5. That letter wasn't just shade, it was a tech mic drop that reshaped the entire internet landscape. Steve Jobs in the letter is quoted as saying this: "Adobe's Flash products are 100% proprietary. They are only available from Adobe, and Adobe has sole authority as to their future enhancement, pricing, etc. While Adobe's Flash products are widely available, this does not mean that they are open, since they are controlled entirely by Adobe and available only from Adobe. By almost any definition, Flash is a closed system." And I'm not gonna lie, bro, this was kind of funny to me considering how closed down the whole Apple ecosystem actually is nowadays, especially with things like lightning cables, which Apple is desperately trying to get rid of by adopting the Type-C connection cables that was so prevalent on almost every Android after a while. Funny enough though, after the quote I just said, he talks about the slight hypocrisy in the statement by saying this: "Apple has many proprietary products too. Though the operating system for iPhone, iPod, and iPad is proprietary, we strongly believe that all standards pertaining to the web should be open. Rather than use Flash, Apple has adopted HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript, all open standards. In addition, Flash has not performed well on mobile devices. We have routinely asked Adobe to show us Flash performing well on a mobile device, any mobile device, for a few years now, and we've never seen it." Symantec recently highlighted Flash for having one of the worst security records in 2009. We also know firsthand that Flash is the #1 reason Macs crash. We have been working with Adobe to fix these problems, but they have persisted for several years now. We don't want to reduce the reliability and security of our iPhones, iPods, and iPads by adding Flash. After this letter, developers and browsers started pulling away from Flash. They saw it as this clunky third-party program trying to privatize the internet by becoming the only way we access interactive content. And while it was gatekeeping the web, it was also underperforming, offering lower quality than its competitors in terms of speed, security, and overall user experience. Now, while I rarely agree with Apple's practices and statements, I'm gonna be honest, every word from Steve Jobs kinda made sense. While Flash powered our childhoods, it was quickly becoming outdated tech held together by duct tape and nostalgia. With the death of Flash came the downfall of many iconic sites, including Y8 Games. But Y8.com refused to give up. They adapted and upgraded many of those beloved Flash games and converted them into HTML5 format. Now, Y8 doing this wasn't just good for them. The fact that the entire internet was moving to HTML5 was good as well. HTML5 let browsers handle audio, video, animation natively. No installs, no pop-ups, and no drama. Games, apps, and videos became faster, cleaner, and way more mobile friendly, something Flash just couldn't master. Beyond performance, HTML5 made the web safer and more efficient. No more "please update Flash player" pop-ups or sketchy security holes. HTML5 was built to be modern, secure, and work on every device, whether it was Chrome, Firefox, or your grandma's old crusty iPad. It all just worked. These days, Y8 features a modern, slick design and organizes its massive library of over 90,000 games into easy-to-navigate tags like action, scary, dress-up, and they're still adding new games daily, and somehow they survived the Flash apocalypse, which many could not do. They even have a social media presence, a surprisingly cursed Instagram and Facebook filled with bizarre AI memes, a Twitter that occasionally peeps out from the void, and a Discord that's quiet but not completely dead. There's still some life there every once in a while. All in all though, Y8.com is a living monument to internet culture's refusal to let go of our childhoods, one pixelated Flash game at a time. And that's about it for today's video. If you enjoyed, consider checking out the Patreon and YouTube memberships for extra content. If you are interested in gaming, check out my second channel because I do plan on playing some Y8 games over there. Probably gonna start out with some Plasma Burst, not gonna lie, that's my favorite. But if you're also into photography, check out my third channel. And that's about it. I will see you in the next one. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay black, my stars.